traits and tendencies that you may have if you suffered abuse. Start with part of your face being different than the other, one eye being bigger than the other potentially. There may be psychosomatic responses to things that are actually created with chemicals based on the reaction that your body is giving. It's not to say that that happens every time. It's just to say that under the right amount of stress, if the stress is correlated to something that happened as a small child, you may have a psychosomatic response that actually looks like a disease. If your legs are pigeon toe, duck toe, if you're knocking knees, if one of your legs is dragging, splayed out, they may be signs of trauma or abuse. Certain tattoos, half moon tattoos, seagull tattoos might be fingernails. So especially behind the ear and on the neck, where maybe somebody's thumb was, some tattoos you can actually see like the wings on the back of the neck and then a fingernail mark right behind the ear. So so there are things that you might do to respond to somebody hurting you internally, like flexing your legs against nothing and stretching as hard as you possibly can. That may result in people walking on their tippy toes, and or one of your legs being, twisted in a way that you can't mimic to be able to undo. There are some implant technologies now that could result in some really, really scary understandings of manipulation, especially if a stepdaughter is allowed to marry their stepdad. EIEIO is something that maybe people would know if they had experienced trauma that is correlated to muscles that they had used that they didn't know they'd used. There are some statues in front of Washington, D.C. that are really, really distasteful. Then there's, Willy Wonka and the understanding of Willy Wonka and Clausewitz. And there's some lookalike wives and some lookalike names and some lookalike flowers. So if you're a flower like a lily or a rose, there may be some really inappropriate context to that. I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. That's kind of a scary name, connected to slavery, connected to the word dicks, which in our society now is a more appropriate term than any of the other words that might be describing a phallus. Brother and sister singing about watching pornography together, Billy as a boy goat. Any of the object names could create some issues. I guess there are some concepts that I wanted to share with the people about food. There are some names also in other cultures that may be totally acceptable, but in American society may be the reason they get selected. Rapace. Your name's Rapace. Naomi Rapace. No, it's Numi Rapace. Okay, and I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. I just, it's just kind of an understanding that you may be selected based on your name. You may have selected a borderline inappropriate name. Maybe I could give you a name for Hollywood that would allow you to be more hireable by people that find it easier to fantasize about you. There are people that they're stuck in all sorts of understandings, and I don't know what to say other than if you start to normalize that we're looking at the actors and actresses and that we're putting them in films that may have inappropriate conduct, that you might have more and more people that are naming their children objects.